Again, the big outline of I want to go to real places. I want to do the research. I want to find out who the ghosts were, what their personalities are, and incorporate that in. In fact, at the end of every book, I have a listing of here are the ghosts and a little brief, history of them, of, where they died. Because it usually, when you're a ghost, it usually has to do with something violent. And so, yeah, I just do a little bit of. But like I said, the Queen Mary was really fantastic because when World War II started, they immediately turned her into a transport ship. And she has the record of the most troops transported. But they were putting bunk beds that were four tall. I mean, they were cramming people. They drained the swimming pools and put, bunk beds in there to just get as many people as possible on that ship to get them over to Europe. So it was pretty amazing.
Everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. Another author on the podcast. We were just nerding out around like Comic-Cons and all of that fun stuff. It's great when you meet and find your people who love what you do. And this author does something very unique, so unique that Amazon doesn't have a category for that. So how is that? Okay. You're like, what category, what label can we put on this? We don't have a label for what you do. That's the sign of somebody doing something unique. And I'm so excited to have Donna here on the podcast. Donna, welcome to Living the Next Chapter.
Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting me. This is exciting. My first podcast.
Come on. Tell her what she's won, everyone. What did she win? This is good. I'm so glad you're here. This is good stuff. You are an author and you've been doing this for a long time. Tell us, first of all, where you are in this great big world of ours.
I'm Mountain Californian, San Diego area, which is good for being a geek because we have this huge convention called San Diego Comic-Con that's coming later this month. So 150,000 geeks will be descending on San Diego for 4 days. So it's crowded, but it's fun, and everybody's there to have a good time. So when you have a group like that, it's like everybody's your friend.
Everyone is your friend. Yes, that is great. So unique and creative, that space. And I just love how fans can become stars just by showing up in their full gear and regalia. They're just, you look at them and you're like, oh my gosh, look, you stepped right off the screen. This is so cool. I just love how when people get together and they're passionate about the same thing, it unites everybody. You could be across the room and you're like, oh, you're doing the thing. I'm doing the thing. We're best friends now. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And then you start talking, well, how did you do this? How did you do that? Sharing all the ideas and the processes and stuff. And it's great. It's a supportive. I was the Star Wars costumer for many, many years and ran a table there. And yeah, it was just great. And, we had the blessing of Lucasfilms before Disney got them. And they were like, oh, hey, you guys do a lot for charity in our name. And you're very visible. And plus your costumes are really good. And so, yeah, I just jokingly called ourselves the free, PR arm of Lucas. So especially being in Southern California, because they'd have like big announcements. And, we actually got invited to red carpet events. I got to attend the red carpet of The Force Awakens, which was an interesting experience.
Wow.
I'm not like an autograph hound or anything. I'm just like, actors are people with very weird jobs, but it was an experience. And I have had the opportunity to meet a lot of the people creatively. In fact, one of the guys who's been running a lot of the shows, Dave Filoni, I actually knew him before he got hired by Lucasfilm because he asked me to make costumes for him and his friends because he heard I had made these costumes before. So that was kind of like, hey, I made this guy's costume.
That's awesome.
He's a rock star. I can't touch him anymore because he's just so popular. I have to escort him in and out, but I'm
sure he'd love to connect with you and be like, oh, I can't believe it's Donna again. This is so
cool. No, every time we see I get a hug. So it's not like he's like I said, Star Wars people are kind of family, because we do so much with the people from Lucasfilm. Still Disney, very nicely, we were afraid they were going to shut us down, which, they have the right to do. They own the intellectual property, but they said, no, you guys do good stuff. So
it's good. So you're not in a category on Amazon. Tell us why you're not in a category on Amazon.
Well,
there's so many categories. Okay.
Yeah, it may have changed. Okay. What I write is called Paranormal Mystery.
Yeah.
And I call it a cozy mystery because most of the characters in it are already dead. So no point in, being murdered. They're already dead. And the main character talks to their spirits. So when I published the first book way back when, I was looking for paranormal mystery, and all they had was paranormal romance, which of course there's a ton of stuff for paranormal romance, which is it's a little weird. But I'm just like, it was one of those, this is a book I want to read, but nobody's writing it. So I said, fine, I'm going to write a book that I would like to read. So the basis of these books is I research actual noted haunted locations. So starting out, I went local with the Whaley House here in San Diego, which is very noted as a haunted location, and did research on the history and went and, did the tour, visited the house, and just got a bunch of information. And then, wrote the book. So it's about a real place with the documented ghosts that have been viewed there. And then I just wrote the fictional mystery to go with it. And of course, because it's a mystery, it has to have a cat. So it has a black cat named Styx.
Of course.
It's kind of become my logo. So yeah. So the goal was, because I love to travel and I love to do research, it's like, I'm going to find a haunted location in each state and I'm going to write a book about it. So that's the massive goal. I don't know if I'll meet that, but the next book that came out 2022, 2023 was called, and the titles are always sarcastic. So the first one is called Having a Whaley of a Time. Second one is called Queen for a Night because it takes place on the Queen Mary in Long Beach. Wow. That was extremely fun to research. Just all the thing that ship has been through, from an actual Art Deco masterpiece, just absolutely fabulous. If you're into that style, it's just amazing to walk through and just see all the little artistic details in there. I was kind of blown away. They actually had a frame thing of the 50 plus types of wood that they used, and it was all done in slats, almost like like rays. And it was just this big frame thing of all the different types of wood that they used throughout the ship. It's just absolutely stunning if you're a art history type person.
Wow.
And just and the history of it. So that was a lot of fun because it's considered a portal. There's a lot of paranormal activity on there, so there were a lot of ghosts I could include in that particular story. And I'm currently working on the third one, which is called Forget the Alamo, which obviously takes place at the Alamo. And I love the internet. So does my main character. We love the internet because the internet is just this treasure trove of information. And the stories take place about 2008, 2009 in there. And so for the Alamo, when I was doing research, I found an article that someone had written from 2009, about how sad it was that there wasn't more about the Alamo that was kind of hidden. There was just the one building, but there's like plaques all around, but one was covered with a bush. And it's like, this is gold, because my character's going to be there at that same time. So I can use this, for her to make her observations about what the place was like at that time. So yeah, that was a treasure nugget on from the internet.
So we talked about, going to the big Comic-Con events and stuff and talking to people who love what you do. When you do your research, are you talking to people as well beyond reading articles? Are you speaking to people that are in the area or would know these things and getting more information in a dialogue?
No, it's mostly internet research and stuff, because again, the stories are set in the past. So, in fact, when I was writing the first one, I'm like, wait, what was Wi-Fi connection like in 2000? Was there Wi-Fi in 2008? Do motel rooms have access? So I had to go back and get my tech correct and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, there's just those little details of, no, I need to make this more accurate and find out. My editor, bless his heart, he's awesome. And he's like, yeah, you might want to go make sure that this was a thing back then. He's about my age, so we're both like, yeah, I know. Trying to remember what the tech was like back then.
Yeah, we wouldn't have the same things we have today. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's like I said, trying to make it accurate. Of course, I was living in San Diego at that time, so that wasn't a problem.
Good. How have you been writing before this? Before you started writing your works, or is this relatively new for you?
I have written forever since I was about 12. I said I would love to be a writer. And, as a kid, you write fan fiction, you write whatever. And of course, back then it was pen and paper, and just, things just came out of me, short stories and ideas for novels and all that. And, I actually wanted to go into filmmaking, but at that time, I mean, there were no women directors. Women had no power in the industry, and I didn't have enough, pardon me, self-confidence to go up against that. And so I ended up in something interesting. My actual career is instructional design. So I actually create instruction for people. Not like a teacher, it's training, it's more focused. But the military uses this a lot. And so my first 16 years of my career was as a government contractor. So I got to write, maintenance training for helicopters and, all these different things. Yeah, that was fun. So a lot of interesting experiences in the late 80s, early 90s with
Wow.
So, but, we were making videos. We were, I was the director. I was the producer. I was writing the script. I was doing story. I was doing all the same process that a filmmaker would, except a lot of it was classified. It was for the government. So
there you go.
Yeah, I know. That's my joke. It's like, I don't have a portfolio because I can't show it to you. It's classified.
I'd have to have the Men in Black little memory eraser if I show you this.
If I show you this. If I show you, I'll have to kill you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there. That's motivation.
Yeah.
It's okay, because I think all the things we do in the past kind of help lead us into our writing, and they become tools at our disposal to help us write in the future. So all these are like foundational things for you as an author that you get to draw from, right?
Yeah.
As you work through your books. Yeah, I'm reading, yeah.
Reader, I love mysteries. I love science fiction. I love fantasy. I love, historical fiction. So it's just like, and I'm on several, Facebook groups with writers, and it's the best advice that I could tell anybody is if you want to be a writer, be a reader, because you want to see what people do. And when the first book came out, I was working with a group that had, they supplied all the things, the editor and and I could get the books print on demand. That was the big thing back then, because the whole self-publishing is very early. It was 2012. So it was still kind of in its infancy, but I really didn't want to go through the process of trying to get an agent and doing query letters and sending manuscripts off and being rejected forever. And the other thing I wanted on the back of my books, I don't know if you can see this, see barcode cat very well.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
About
I see it.
Oh, there's a little cat on the barcode box. And I'm like, I want barcode cat on that. But most publishers, you'll notice, back covers are blank, except for the text. Because if you have to put a graphic on, it's going to cost more money. And I'm like, no, in that respect, I like that control because I want barcode cat on the barcode. That's just, I'm not going to give up on that. But I'm not, famous enough to be able to tell a publisher to do that. So for me, the self-publishing was a good avenue. Like I said, I could keep control. And now when I redid the first book, now there's so many people you can hire for design and editing and, web pages and marketing. And so, the whole status of the self-publishing industry has really grown. And, the opportunities are there. Not everybody's going to be a Twilight author, or 50 Shades of Grey. That was it. Yeah. It was based on Twilight. But, it's my expectations are very low. And it's like, these are books I would like to read. I'm happy. I don't have to make a lot of money. It's kind of at a hobby status at this point, but it makes me happy.
I like when somebody finds something that's not being done either en masse or is not being done to the way you would do it, and you go, you know what? It doesn't exist. That means I should create it. I'm going to be the one. And I think that's a great way to find your lane by just figuring out what's not in the world and just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like, and there are so many genre mashups. And so, there's a lot of people out there going, well, it's romance. Well, it's fantasy. Well, it's this. Well, it's that. It's like, yeah, it's just when you have all these categories in one book, it's really hard to, to pick a label for it sometimes. So
you talked about your character loves the internet. So,
yes, she was an investigative reporter.
Okay.
Chicago newspaper. Type A personality, very high stress, a smoker, overweight. And the first line of the first book says, "It's amazing how death can screw up your life." Because she dies on the gurney and they have to resuscitate her. And so she does the whole, out of body experience And then that's when she realizes she can see and speak too. And of course, being a fact-based journalist, she's denying the whole thing. It's like, no, this is not, I don't believe this. This is not happening. So the first book is a lot of her struggle of, what am I doing? But she's kind of forced into retirement because of the heart attack. And so she moves out with her sister who lives in, Idlewild out here in California, and has a big old house that belonged to their grandparents and turned it into a bed and breakfast. And so when she gets there, she sees her dead grandmother, and, her grandmother's like, "You have a gift." And Shannon's like, "No, take it back. I hope you save the receipt." Yeah. Okay. She's very sarcastic.
There's a TV show my wife and I love to watch called Ghosts. And
yes.
It's so funny because it's obviously a comedy, but what they say and how they live as ghosts in this big house, again, as a bed and breakfast type setting, and a lot of the similarities to what you're talking about. I love kind of how they get to play with their characters because there's really no rules. Yeah. Who's going to come back and say, you can't say that? Well, who's going to stop me? I can do whatever I want. This is my book, right? Yep. It's my story. So do you have any rules to your writing at all where you want to stay true to a certain thing, or do you completely abandon to the fact that you can go anywhere you like in your books?
Again, the big outline of, I want to go to real places. I want to do the research. I want to find out who the ghosts were, what their personalities are, and incorporate that in. In fact, at the end of every book, I have a listing of, here are the ghosts and a little brief, history of them, of, where they died. Because it usually, when you're a ghost, it usually has to do with something violent. And so, yeah, I just do a little bit of, but like I said, the Queen Mary was really fantastic because when World War II started, they immediately turned her into a transport ship. Yeah. And she has the record of the most troops transported, but they were putting bunk beds that were 4 tall. I mean, they were cramming people. They drained the swimming pools and put, bunk beds in there to just get as many people as possible on that ship to get them over to Europe. So it was pretty amazing.
When you did the tour, when you had the time as a tour, were you kind of like rush through the tour, like go, or did you have time to kind of stand there in the room and go, I want to know what happened in this room. I want to, feel connected to this, or were you hurried through?
The ship is very open, and you can just go through, and there's a lot of stationary exhibits with signs. So yeah, I spent an entire day on there. It actually is a hotel. They have refurbished a lot of the rooms, and people can go and stay overnight. There is one room. I thought they closed it down, but I think somebody said they reopened it. That is the most haunted because people will book it. They'll come out in the middle of the night going, get me another room. I can't stay in here. And it gives off a very creepy vibe. When I took my general tour, and I was there in April 2013, 2014, and when I took the general tour, the tour guide shows up and I'm the only person there. And he said, oh, well, you're the only person. Do you want to wait and go with another group? And I said, oh, no. This is perfect because I have weird questions for you. So I kind of got so he took me to the places that I was specifically interested in. Wow. So it was perfect. And actually that made it into the book because Shannon has the same experience. So it's just like, that was just perfect, that I could go see. I got to go backstage where the first class pool was because they've done all this stuff with it. So yeah, he took me to some areas that they wouldn't normally go to just because I wanted it for my research. So.
Nice.
I know. Sometimes things just work out.
So I love history, so that would be my happy place to have a private tour like that and be able to say, "Well, can we go this way? Sure, let's go down the hall." And like, "Oh, wow." So I would be there with you, no problem.
Oh yeah, and the ship is just so gorgeous. I mean, just I'm looking up the walls and the little, the borders up near the ceiling are all Art Deco, and just the amount of craftsmanship and care that we just do not see these days. And it's an art piece almost. And I'm so happy it's been through so many owners. And now the city of Long Beach actually does own the ship. So I really hope that they put the work that needs to be done to restoring it, because it is a treasure.
Wow.
Just from an art standpoint, it's just so beautiful.
Do you have any tips for young authors who are early days in writing and they're going to be researching and they want to do it the right way? Any tips for someone on doing proper research for your book and building your book out?
Yeah, just be willing to put like any descriptor in. A lot of time when I do searches, I'll like rework the search text of like, let's try it this way, let's try it that way. And because, that kind of gets me, because like on a lot of these writing sites, people are like, somebody tell me how to do this. And I'm like, but if you go on the internet, it will tell you how to do that. So yeah, I mean, make use of this treasure that is the internet, and just, it's got so much information as as someone from the library days where you had to go into the library and look at the books that you couldn't check out to make your reports and stuff. Just having the internet at your feet is just incredible, the amount of information you can find, but you got to be willing to work for it. And, sometimes I'll get on a search for one little thing and it'll take me an hour or two. But
right. It's a slippery slope sometimes when you're like doing a search and like, how did I end up here? I have no idea how I ended up here. Yeah.
It's actually in the first book when Shannon is looking up spirits and suddenly she gets sidetracked by websites for wines.
Of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. When you're doing your research, again, as you go through and do all this, have you found anything where you kind of were able to, it changed kind of how you were writing? If you were going in one direction and the research kind of went, no, we're going to go this way and we're going to follow this story. And you kind of get led, I guess, as the author instead of leading. Does that ever happen?
Well, actually, as I always say, I write what the voices in my head tell me, because when I'm in that groove, the story's playing out in my mind, and I'm a transcriptionist trying to get everything down. I'm trying to get the dialogue down. I'm trying to get the descriptions down. I'm trying to get the moment down. So it's like, yeah, my characters are coming up with this. In fact, Stephen King made a very similar statement of, once you get going, your characters take the lead and you just follow and make sure you get down everything you possibly can. So there's kind of this, it's kind of a Zen thing that just takes over. And a lot of times the plot line will be, well, I'm going to go down here. And then suddenly it's like, oh no, we're taking off on this tangent because that's just what popped into my head. So it is. And of course, that's what editing is for, is to go through and, smooth things out. And things change. Yes, they do. Sometimes I'll find something late and it's like, oh, I need to, redo this scene or whatever. So,
yeah. I kind of envision you as an author, in a sense, being led like you were on that private tour, where what you want to find out and you're curious about the things you are, but then your tour guide says, well, we're going to show you this. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I didn't even know I was going to be able to see that or experience that, or that's new for me. Yeah. They're going to show you things. And I guess in the way your characters can also be a tour guide for you as a writer, where they're going to show you things that you're like, oh, I've heard authors say that their characters sometimes would speak to them and say, well, I want to go this way. You're like, oh, so you're leading. Okay, well, I'll follow you as a character in my book. Let's see where you take me. And that's always fun as well.
Yeah, because once you start putting it down and you're writing, again, you get into that Zen thing of things are happening and you're just going with the flow. And but yeah, for the most part, the mysteries are pretty well plotted out. And then, it's just finding the pieces of history that I need to support the story and the ghost characters and all that.
So you have a pretty high and lofty goal to write as many books as you are stating here on the podcast that you will be writing at some point. Oh, that's a big task.
It is, and I'm slow at it right now because, again, self-publishing, you got to come up with the money. Right. I don't always have that, but it's like I said, I love doing the research and I love creating these. And the other thing I love, and I kind of equate them to like the Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys books. Every book is a set book, so if you pick up book 4, you can still read it page to page without having read any of the other ones, because I want to make the story complete. I am so tired. This happened to me with fantasy. It's like, oh, fantasy book. Wait, book 1 of 5. And the one I'm holding is 600 pages. I'm like, no, okay, I'm not sure I want to invest that much time in a story that can't be told in less than 5 volumes. But from a publishing standpoint, you sell more books. But I'm always going against the trends. So I call them airplane books because they are small. So I said, if you get on a flight in Los Angeles, you should be able to finish it by the time you reach New York. So about 6 hours. So
there you go.
I think that's a plus, honestly, because I do get tired of these really long books. It's like, I just want a beginning, middle, and end. I want to read a complete story and go, yay, I finished it.
Right. That satisfaction of, okay, I'm done. I can move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Or not.
You never know where somebody's going to find you. And book 5 might be their introduction to you as an author, and you don't want to have to send them back to the beginning. So good.
Yeah,
that's
I always do a summary in the front to just, get people up to speed. So obviously not all the detail. Actually, I found myself on a website for Cozy Mysteries, and they had it listed as a standalone. It was the second book. So I reached out. I said, oh, well, this is cool. So I reached out to them and said, hey, there is another book, and, hey, thanks for showing it off.
One thing I hear from authors is you get a lot of support and hand holding, and there are some of these people with you all the way through writing to some degree. You pick how much, but at the end of it, you have a book, and then there's just you. There's not like a big team there to help you now promote this book and get out there and talk to people, and it feels like it's kind of like your starting line, but everyone else's finish line. Congratulations, Donna, you got your book. See you. We're on to the next person. And here you are with a box full of books, and you're like, what do I do now?
I do now, yeah.
Beyond being on a podcast, congratulations. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
What else are you doing to help get the word out about your books? And do you have any advice for an author on the promotional side of your book?
No, because I actually, the best advice I was given when I started in 2012, I worked with a company called selfpublishing.com, and I was assigned a book coach for free. And so he was the person to answer all my questions. They don't do that anymore, but they offer training and whatnot. And they're very impressive because everybody there, they're all in New York, and they have worked for the big publishing houses. So they have spent years in the publishing industry. So they are really good people. And so what he told me is, he said, okay, if you're going to be a self-publisher, that's more than just being a writer. You're running a business. Mm-hmm. So you have to set your head of, I'm not just a writer, I'm running a business, which includes marketing, which includes, keeping your taxes and, all that stuff. And actually in 2000, the last job I was laid off from, I was an independent consultant for several years. So I did run my own business in the state of California. So, that really clicked, and I went, oh yeah, I know how to do that. My problem is I do just mightily suck at marketing. I'm very bad at promoting myself. I spend time at local conventions. I hand out flyers. With the first iteration of the book, I had so many left over. I just put them on the freebie table. I'm like, here, free. If you like it, follow me. But like I said, now we do have people we can hire for help. There is a site called Readsy where you can, get bids from people to do marketing and publicity and websites and all that. I used to do websites in the early days of 2000, but boy, it's more complicated now. So everything I used back then does not apply anymore. So it's like, oh no, they made it programming. Okay, I'm not a programmer. So, just hoping, and again, like the big convention, like Comic-Con, I talk to a lot of people and, just do what I can. I'm very fortunate that here in San Diego, we have a bookstore called Mysterious Galaxy, and they are totally dedicated to science. They've actually expanded, but their initial thing was just science fiction, fantasy, and mystery. And when I was with self-publishing, they had a thing where they would evaluate your book on, would your book fit in whatever category you're writing for? Have you met all the standards and such? And so, I paid for that. And they said, yes, your book would very much fit into the mystery section of Agatha Christie, Dick Francis, Lillian Jackson Braun. Mm-hmm. I love Lillian Jackson Braun and her cat books. So she was kind of an inspiration.
There's a cat theme going on behind the scenes here in our conversation,
yes.
Including the cat that was on the screen before we hit record, of course.
Yeah, he's still here. He's just out of camera range. I had a cat because I work remotely, which I love, and my entire business company is remote. So my team will have weekly meetings. And I had a cat that as soon as he heard me talking, he would come running and get in my lap and be seen on screen because he knew I was in a meeting. So it was kind of a joke of, wait, we can't start yet. Neo isn't here. That's the other fun thing. You get to see other people's pets too, which is fun. So
yeah, I like that. Okay, so again, for a reader who's going to purchase your book, read it for the first time, they have it in their lap, they have their coffee, and they're going to go sit outside and read your book for the first time, or they're hopping on a plane. They have your book in their hands. Again, they haven't read a word yet, but they're looking forward to reading. What is your love letter to a reader? What do you want to say to them before they read the first word of one of your books?
This is actually how I sign my books. I put enjoy. And then my first name. That's enjoy the book. Have fun. Books should be fun. That's, I mean, granted, there are ones that we want, really serious or whatever. We want that conflict and whatnot. But this series is way more lighthearted. And it's like, let's sit down and read a short book and say, hey, I really enjoyed that. And not worry about it being 600 pages long or, being one of 5. Or as I say about the Wheel of Time, it's like, I'm not reading 12 books. I'm sorry.
No.
Don't have that many years left. Okay.
Yeah. How long does it take you to write one of your books? Is there like an average time per book? Are they all different?
Not really. It kind of depends on what's going on in my personal life and when I can carve out time. So again, the majority of the time is all the research and stuff. Everything's, put in a folder on my computer, and then I will go back and then I kind of have to get into, like right now, I'm still struggling with the MacGuffin, the thing that's part of the mystery in the Alamo one. So, I have several ideas what I'd like to do, but I'm not sure that would be interesting enough. So once I get that part figured out. So
good. Okay.
MacGuffin is a Hollywood term for, like the Holy Grail or, whatever. It's a thing everybody's searching for.
Yeah. There you go. See, we're all learning stuff. That's why we do it. Yeah.
Everybody has a MacGuffin. So.
Get your MacGuffin, everyone. One free MacGuffin with every book. That's good. Good. Okay, so as we wrap up as well, Donna, we want to send people to you and connect with you, and so they can follow your journey as an author, get all the information about future books as well. People are going to be pressing play on this episode years from now. So that's the beauty of podcasting. This thing lives on, and as we go about our daily lives, people are going to hit play and go, "Oh, this is great! I want this in my life." But there's going to be new works that happen from now till then. Yeah. So where do we follow you? Where are you most active, so that we can connect with you and nerd out like a Comic-Con with you about your books? We're here to gather around you, though. Where do we go?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity. I have a page on Facebook, Paranormal Mystery Series. Or Paranormal Mystery Books, something like that. But I don't post often. It's, I'm not a huge fan of social media. Yeah. It's kind of its own Pandora's box. But I do have an author page on both Goodreads and Amazon.
Okay. Yep.
And I am trying. I have a very low key WordPress site, but I don't want to give it because it hasn't been updated in forever. Because, again, it's just one of those things you got to take care of. And I'm kind of at the point where I really want to hire somebody to do that for me because I just can't. I can't give it the effort that it needs. So that's why my marketing has been very under the radar.
Okay. It's good. Yeah. And we can find your books on Amazon.
Yes. On Amazon.
Are they available in stores as well? Like, where can we find these?
They're the physical copies are print on demand. But if, trying to think, no, I don't have any copies locally. I suppose if anybody wanted like an autograph copy or something, they could contact me through the Facebook. Okay. And I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
I've done all my charts for shipping rates and all.
Yeah, that can get expensive, but yeah, that's great. We'll make sure we have a link to that.
Yeah, that's why they're small books.
Yeah,
They won't cost as much.
another smart idea right there. It's not some big encyclopedia. So,
Yeah, no, I laughed when the first book came out because my mom was still alive, and she was telling everybody about it, and I laughed. I said, "Yeah, my demographics, 80-year-old ladies who like a cool book." But I was surprised because a friend of mine, her teenage daughter, found the first one and was reading it, really liked it. I went, "Oh, okay, that's good to know." So
nice. That's good. Any last tips for authors? We do have a lot of new authors listening. You've given some great advice so far. I love what you've mentioned, but just around why proper research is so important, especially when you're doing something historical or fact based. And I know you put a lot of time into that. So what's your encouragement?
And when you're passionate about that, there's nothing worse than a turnoff of somebody, showing or describing something that doesn't fit that era. They're describing a Victorian dress that belongs in the Regency era, that kind of thing. And it's like, no, come on, get your history straight. I actually did do a romance novel, and it was set when Napoleon had his first exile to Elba. And so I was researching all these things. So one of the Napoleon supporters has a sprig of flowers, the bluebells, a certain flower in his hat. And someone's like, what does that mean? He says, oh, Napoleon's coming back. Well, that was the thing with people that supported Napoleon, that they would wear these flowers in their hats because they supported him coming back. And so it's like, oh, well, that's a cool little thing to add in there.
Yeah. I think if you don't invest the time and be accurate to the times, like you talk about, it's kind of like a tie-dyed stormtrooper at Comic-Con. They stand out.
That exists, actually.
They does. Of course. I tried to pick something random, and of course it exists.
No. If you look up Crazy Star, there's a guy who's got red, white, and blue. A lot of the guys did zombie stormtroopers. They love that. So yeah, there are actually many personalized iterations of stormtroopers out there, and it's funny. It's funny, but again, fans having fun with the stuff and being a family, having fun. It's about having fun. Basically, that was my interest in the costuming thing. It was like, yeah, I want to have fun. I want to support my community. I want to do, not focus on my special needs son all the time because there are other people in the world and he's going to have to learn to adapt.
Yeah. So make writing fun again, make books fun again. That's kind of seems to be your mantra, which I love.
For me. Yeah. Work for everybody, but that works for me because that's just the kind of person I am. And, if you enjoy my books, great. If you don't, that's fine too. It's not for everybody. So, and the biggest ask I have of readers, please leave a review on Amazon. That is the one thing that writers really, really need, because Amazon bases their ranking on the number of reviews. It has nothing to do with positive or negative. So if I got 100 negative reviews on Amazon versus one positive, that would raise my book status, which is really insane. But again, they let the computers do all the analytics, so no humans involved. But even just the feedback, and even if you don't like it, tell me why you didn't like it. Maybe that's something I need to know to make my next book better. So no, I encourage any review, good or bad, because as a writer, I'm open to, oh, hey, someone didn't like this. Okay, maybe I need to rethink, this particular thing.
Oh, that's wise, sage advice.
Yeah.
Very good. Donna, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Well done on being a guest. First time out the door. Yes. You did great.
Oh, so thank you.
Do more of this. You're an awesome guest to have on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. No, well, when the next book comes out, I'll let you know.
You have to come back. You definitely have to come back for sure. I love that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and this opportunity. I'm just overwhelmed and just delighted to be here.
Excellent. We'll have a link, everyone, for Donna's Facebook page as well, so you can go check out that and reach out to her. Let her know you heard her on the podcast. And when you buy her books, obviously buy them all and share them as well. And then, it's beautiful that you can jump on a plane, for example. You can do that thing, and you have a companion now with you, Donna, in your pocket. As you take her book all over the place, take a picture of her book somewhere where you live, too. I live near Niagara Falls. Yeah. I take pictures of author books at the falls. It's kind of my little thing that I do. So if there's something unique, do that. If you have a haunted location in your area, take a picture, send it to me, and tell me about your big,
what's your big creepy place in your town or city, state, county, whatever. I always need places. So
there you go. You're going to have to add a Canadian book to your list as well.
I will. She's actually going to go to Scotland at some point too, because she's Scottish. Her last name is McIntyre. She's very much feisty Scottish.
There you go.
Middle-aged lady. So yeah, she will go to Scotland sometime, which I hope I get to go to. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Donna, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for being part of the podcast again. Appreciate you investing time in the show and you for listening this far. Thank you. One thing to keep in mind is we are looking for help and some support for the podcast. If you are able to help support our show, our little podcast show here, we can go over to livingthenextchapter.com and all the instructions will be there to help support the show. It takes about $30 to $40 a month to do this, just for the hosting and all of that other stuff that we pay for. But if the show is giving you any value and you're enjoying what's happening here, would love any kind of support that you can offer. That would be great. And you being here and sharing the show helps us grow. Helps us get great new authors on the show, connect with other listeners, and build community. So whatever you can do to share this show today, I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here for Living the Next Chapter, and I can't wait to share the next one with you. Talk soon. Have a great day.